Happy New Year's! Well, almost. It's the 28th as I've uploaded this video. It's the 21st as of recording this. So, I've just finished the last review, which were King of Thorns, and now I figured we could go through every book that I have read throughout this year and reviewed, and then talk about like what do I remember from it, and also talk about like where would I rate in comparison to all the other books. And this is going to be very freeform. It's going to be me taking a book, talking about what I remember, and then looking at the tier list, like what do we think? Well, what do I think? Of course, if you agree, disagree, let me know. Let's get to the first book, Legendborn. Legendborn. So, Legendborn is written by Tracy Deonn, and I remember liking this book. What I remember mostly was like the immense focus on African American culture and history in it, and I remember the what's called the magic system. That's what I was looking for. The magic system in this book, like, because it has two basically. You have the Arthurian Legends magic system, where she put a spin on it with being, you know, based on lineage and stuff. But then also this voodoo-esque, I think it's called voodoo or hoodoo. I think it's called hoodoo in this book. Doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. And I remember liking that a lot. I liked like the mix of it. I didn't particularly care much for the plot twist that happened in the book, though. I don't know. Go back and watch the review. So I'm gonna say this is probably like it was a good book, definitely, and I'm gonna get to the rest of the series. So if we look at our tier list, I think the very first book we're gonna place is gonna be a strong B tier for Legendborn. I honestly think that's where it fits. Next book we're gonna look at is gonna be, you'll see. I don't know why I tried to keep it secret. The next book is The Night Watch by Sergei Lukianenko. Lukianenko. I probably butchered that name. This book. I remember this book being a decent read, not the best read. Like, because what I remember is like the premise were very interesting because of the way magic worked by going, you know, giving and taking a little. But also remember like the main character being a little bland and the story itself being slightly bland. But also I do remember like not disliking the book, definitely a decent read. But yeah, so like looking back, I think my main thing about the book is just like the premise were good, execution were at best mediocre, so it kind of sad. So if you had to put it on a tier list, I don't know why I did a long break. I have to find. There we go. If I had to put The Night Watch on a tier list, I would say it's like either a C or a D. Like it's definitely worse than Legendborn. It's not the same tier as Legendborn. Legendborn is way better read. It's way more interesting. It's way more fun. The characters and the world feels better. I would argue the two magic systems are equally interesting in their own rights. I think The Night Watch is just not as good of a book. Yep, that's I don't know if it's a hot take, but that's what I believe. Next book is gonna be Whispering Woods. The only official magic book I own that I haven't made myself. So one of two basically. What I remember from it was that it's definitely a product of its time. Like this book is heavily written in the 90s. And you can tell that in the entire fantasy genre style that is going for. But I also think it's probably by far the worst book I've read. None of the books I've read are bad. I think this one is the worst also because it's a bit nonchalant when it came to like sex and consent. So it was a little off-putting at times. I do like as a Magic player we got to see a lot of our cards represented. Like definitely Mana Vault were one of my favorites. Like how much emphasis they put on it, especially because it's such a strong Magic card. And just generally, I like that. I would have loved to see more of Magic. Definitely, if you're going to read onward in the trilogy, it's probably going to be a bigger part of it. But for this first book, if we head over to the tier list, I am going to call it a D tier. It's by far the worst book. It's but it's not bad. It's just the worst one. The Priory of the Orange Tree. Probably the thickest book that I've read this year, along with To Sleep in the Sea of Stars. I loved the romance. Looking back at it, I think the romance was so good. I'm so bad with names. I honestly don't remember, and I feel so bad. Like between the queen and the assassin, whatever you can call her, the main character basically, which would make me sad. I don't remember. Like my only gripe is they actually defeat the evil bad lord in a very. It was chaotic, but it was also very much way. So like, and that sets up for a sequel that I don't believe is gonna be have nearly as high tensions. Hopefully, Shannon is gonna create tension by like how characters like interpersonality stuff, but and then I remember, of course, second half I kind of got a little on it because like I like slow burners, but I think the pacing got a little too slow for all the story. I think it got batted out a bit too much. But I do remember like once the pacing picked up just a little bit again, it was really good. I only had like a middle part that I didn't like. And if we're gonna place it on our tier list, I do believe that it would be a strong A or a small A, low S. Like it is super good, and I'm not quite sure where I want to put it. I'm gonna put it in A for now, and we're probably gonna see it move around. Like it's either a strong A or a low S tier book. Skin of the Sea. I called this one African Mermaids, and I stand by that. And mainly what I remember from it were rushed love interest, kind of the same way Legendborn, but I think Legendborn did that slightly better. But I think and it might just be me not knowing a lot of stuff about Yoruba myths, but it definitely, like, it made me interested in, like, Saharan African? Sub-Saharan African? West Saharan? West African? I guess we can call it West African. I don't know, like the Yoruba culture and myth, like, I love the incorporations of it. I think that Bowen did way better than who was it who wrote Legendborn again? I'm so bad. Dion. I think Bowen did way better than Dion when it came to incorporating culture and myths and stuff. So if we head over to a tier list, I would definitely say that it's either there's a really strong B or a weak A, because it's not on the same level as Priory. Priory has so much better stuff going for it. But it might just make it to A, and then we bump up Priory like this? Or do we go like this? This feels wrong. They're not on the same tier. If this one is A tier, this one's S tier. But I feel like this. No, we're gonna go this. I might change my mind, but I think this is how I'm gonna go for now. First 5 down, and we have 1 in each category. Did not plan it. I say that now, but I did not. Let's get to Dresden Files. The Dresden Files. What do I remember from it? I remember I liked the mystery part of it. Not again the magic. This one I would say magic was fine. Normally I love magic systems, but this one was more like fine when I remember back. But I do like the mystery of it, and the Butcher trying to, well, Harry Dresden trying to like solve the mystery. And I also like the ambiguity of him being more of a grey character and not exactly a good guy, but more like he's just there, he's not interested and all that, and he's really smart. I like that. But I think that's really all. Otherwise I think it's quite a bland book. I'm gonna say the very first, and this is probably a very controversial thing, I'm gonna put it at strong C tier. Was it low B? Like, it's no higher than low B. Legendborn was so much better of a read. So much more interesting. So much more fun. Actually, I'm gonna go B because I do recall the, like, Harry Dresden having a lot of, like, humor in it. So I'm gonna stick to that. And we're gonna take the next book right away without a cut because I do not actually have the cover with me. And so we're gonna take Haunted Bookstore. Haunted Bookstore, clear tier. So good. So fucking good. I cried so much. I just remember the Swedish story, I remember the whimsicalness, I remember the emotional aspects. Like, I just remember it being a cute story that made me tear my eyes out, and I will not, I'll stick by that. It's clear S tier. Is it better than Orange Tree? Yes, I actually think it is. It's kind of different because they're so different books. But I do think the Haunted Bookstore has it going for it, that it's just, it has that feel good slice of life going for it. Like, for me, Bookstore, and it's gonna sound like so weird to say, Bookstore is not a book you should be remembering for its story. You should be remembering for its feelings. Yeah, so strongest here, definitely. Alright, moving on to Rebel's Creed. Oh, this is a heavy book. Rebel's Creed is heavy. I remember it mainly for its split personality, and I think that's a shame. I think, I think the overall story were a little on the bland side, but I definitely think, I just think it was decent at the best. Like, it wasn't a bad read, and I honestly think Green's first book were better. But yeah, because this one takes place like over two times, like past and present basically, and this split personality of the book just kind of removes like all tension. So yeah, I think once the main story got going, which was saving whatever her name was, I honestly don't remember. Isn't her name here? It's like the female main character. What I do remember liking though, now that I think about it, is the chess game. I do like it. I think it was really well done. I would like for it to slow down its pace even more, and for Green to be less in your face with how smart he thought it was. Well, it was really smart, but you don't have to tell the reader that you know that, because I remember after the chess game, the character goes, "I just got outplayed and she got all my secrets." Like, yeah, we know. So the chess game itself was good. The right afterwards reaction was weird. So we hop over to our tier list. Rebel's Creed. I'm actually gonna do it like this. I think it was better than Dresden Files 1, but not by much. Are they both C tier? Is it like this? Do we bump this one down like this, actually? No. This is tough. Or is it like this? It might be like this. Yeah. Let's stick to it like this. Now we get to the other hard-hitting book, To Sleep in the Sea of Stuff by Christopher Pauline. I really wanted to read this book, and I got a chance to get it and read it. And oh crap, that did not disappoint. I have to just preface this before we continue on. All of these books that I'm talking about here is non-scripted. It is me going off of my memory of the books. I've not looked back at what I said in the reviews, because I wanted to say, what impact did these books leave on me from, like, looking back? And that's because the longer back you go, the more difficult it is to remember. But I tried to take that into account a little. But what I remember from To Sleep in the Sea of Stars, oh my god. What I remember from the book is it was a joy to read. So many interesting, such a good modern space opera. What I also remember really liking were when it slowed down and it got very introspective with Narades. Like how she, a name I remember, how she looked into her own humanity. The only thing I didn't quite like is the ending, because it felt more like a D&D, I am now a god, here are your quest rewards, whatever stuff. That felt a little too weird. But up until then, so it's like 5% of the book I disliked, 95% I liked. So, and of course what you dislike you will remember more. But I remember like all the fighting, I remember the communication with the aliens, I don't remember their name right now. Like all of that, how like cultural understandings and lingo worked in. So of course how they communicate were different, but also just how they then used, like if you translate a word, like we mean this word, does that mean the same for them? And it did not always, and like cultural misunderstandings, trying to understand each other, trying to find a middle ground, it was so good. So if you hop over to tier list. Oh, wrong book. I can already now say this one does not go down there. This one, strong S tier. Is it better than Haunted Bookstore? It might actually. No, because the Haunted Bookstore didn't really have anything I particularly liked. Or disliked. I think I'm gonna put it there for now. Yeah, we're gonna put it there. The only non-fantasy book I read this year, basically, it was The Mole by Peter Werner. A apparently relatively unknown book, from what I can understand. What I remember most of all were the intricacies that Peter Werner could get into with how government works in America, and how almost easy it is to spy and make a mistake as a spy, because it highlights how these normal in spy movies like James Bond and so on, these spies are like super trained and highly clever. Of course, James Bond is an odd example because he's such a well-known spy in his own universe. But even when you watch the movie and it's like a spy like super trained and knows everything, you're just like, no, your spy is the most ordinary person. He gets no training, because if he got training, he will show himself. So he makes mistakes. And in this case, he kind of tries to explain why a lot of the different crises throughout the Cold War almost happened or did happen. And at times it did feel a little much like, oh, this one character is the root of all our problems. And at other times it felt really good. I think overall, what I remember the most were how impressively many people there were in this book, and you still had quite a clear understanding on who was who. Because, oh my god, there were so many characters. And I think also just the weaving in of different, like how agencies work, and clearly showing like how inefficient government is. I only think that's what I recall from it. And if we hop over, it's okay. It's gonna go like this. Yeah. Oh, this is such a weird, because I remember, like, I hear so much positive about Dresden Files. So I remember back when I read it, I was like, oh, it's gonna be up here, but now it's down here. And this one, the Cold War memoir, I don't know. I was prepared for it to be down here, but it was actually a really pleasant and positive read. Yeah. So far, quite interesting. I am gonna bump you down, I think. I know I talked about these two not being unsimilar, but thinking back, I think they are. I'm stunned out. Stunned out. Let's keep it like this. The Shadow of the Gods was a book I had been looking forward to reading for a long while. I heard so much good about it, and boy, did it not disappoint. Like, I think it was so good. What I really liked about it, of course, it's a Viking slugfest of a fantasy book. Like, it's just perfect. It's exactly what I want. But what I really liked about it was the focus on being after Ragnarok in, like, Norse mythology, and the focus on it being more of a let's try and like survive and get rid of the remnants of the gods. Like, I recall a lot of that. I recall a lot of it being like more like people who are descendants of the gods being hunted and how they were used, but like they were still. I don't know. Of course, I remember it also having its up and down. I think what the book did well with 3 people in it, where like if one person got boring, the 2 others were really good, or 2 boring, 1 good. Like, there was always one story you were looking forward to continuing. What I didn't like were how disconnected they were, all the stories. And that does pull it down. But this is not a full-on review. You can watch my review on any of these books on my channel. So let's get to the tier list. And we're looking at our second A tier, actually. We are... This is definitely better than Skin of the Sea. Or is it? Oh... It is. It is better. It is better. This is my tier list. Yeah. Alright, let's get to the 2 most recent books, Prince of Thorns and King of Thorns. Let's start with the first one, Prince. I've had this book on my bookshelf for forever, and I finally got around to reading it. Well, I remember starting it and then disliking it, and now I got back to it, and I like it. I think it's a good book. I think it was a fun read. It was fun reading a book where the main character was not a good guy or great, but just purely black, purely the bad guy. There's no discussions. I like that. Thought that was really fun. What I don't like about it, actually, thinking back, I don't have that many things I disliked about it. Maybe some of the characters were a bit too one-note, but that's not something I thought about, because they all clearly had roles. Yeah, I honestly don't think I have that much positive. I don't think it did exceptionally well in a lot of things, except for making them, like York, the main character, unlikable. Yeah. But I don't think it did like anything bad nor anything too bad. So if you go to the tier list, it's a strong A. It's definitely better than. Is it better than Skin of the Sea? No, it's not better. No, it's not. It's not. It's like this. It's the lowest of the A, and I think that's a pretty good spot for it. But right away, if we get to the sequel, King of Thorns, which we reviewed last week, or if you and me recorded about an hour earlier ago, you know I am hugely critical of the sequel. I think the sequel did a lot of things good. I think this Wedding Day storyline, that's it called, I think that one was so good. I don't think any other parts of it were that good. I think it lost a lot of its urgency, and I think it spent too much time on telling another story than the story that it actually wanted to tell. So if we hop into the tier list, it's the strongest C tier we have, I would say. That's B tier. There we go. Now, if we look at the tier list here, this is interesting to me. I would say that's a pretty good tier list. It's it looks almost how I expected it. Some of the books are placed differently than I thought. I definitely expected this one to be S tier, but I think high S tier is okay. I expected the Mole to be way lower. I expect Dresden Files to be higher. And that's about it, actually. I think all the others fell in pretty much how I expected it. Like Skin of the Sea and Legendborn, I figured would be like both B tier. And middle A tier, strong B. Like, you could argue to put it up here as a low A tier, but I think Legendborn really, really strong B tier. So yeah, those were the 13 books I read this year. Do you agree with my assessment? If you want to have like more me explaining more in depth what I liked and disliked about these books to help you figure out if you want to read them yourself, just go on my channel. Every book is there. And Happy New Year's, and see you in 2024, where hopefully we're gonna top it with more books than 13.